We're back with Fred and David. Fred, I mean, this is the danger, right, of a party that's about nothing except getting a good block produced by Tucker Carlson's segment producers. And that's what this is. I can't make it up, and I'm not going to play it. But DeSantis, this culminated in DeSantis going on Tucker Carlson, who gave him a big fat attaboy.
Which is, you know, listen, it's always the cover story that they're after, but not the content. And when you look at the content, that's where you find the problems. And again, I'll use the permitless carry bill as an example, because while he runs around with his shiny objects and the cover story, part of this bill actually will roll back the penalty from a felony to a misdemeanor if you're caught on a school campus with a firearm, okay? And the crazy thing is, because the sales of this bill as a permitless carry, constitutional carry thing that they started it out with were failing in Florida, they started calling it a school safety bill to dress it up. If you put lipstick on a pig, it's still a pig. And this bill will actually make it easier or less, you'll have less of a penalty if you're caught on a school campus now with a gun because of this bill. They're only after the cover story. They don't want you to check the content. The content is what ultimately is going to be deadly here.
You know, David, I know there are groups that run on just this issue, but you're at 66% of Florida Republicans who oppose. There isn't a state, I mean, it's a generous bellwether. I imagine 80% of Republicans oppose permitless carry. Why isn't there a sustained national conversation being driven by the smartest minds from the former right about what Republicans would do?
Yeah, so I'm caught by your adjective smartest, and I don't know what I would replace with it, but I think Fred's journey might be a lesson in this, which is you have a government in Florida led by the governor, Ron DeSantis, who wants to make guns easier to purchase, easier to carry, and ultimately next session easier to wear. You can wear them publicly. But for parents, I think the question is not one of intellect, it's one of values. Do you want to raise your kids in that state? And I mean, forgive me a little bit of license here. I would ask Fred, one of my fellow Floridians, as someone with children now, would you recommend raising your kids in the state of Florida given the culture of guns right now? I don't know the answer to that.
Listen, I love a lot of things about Florida, but the answer to your question right now is no. This afternoon, there's a breaking story of a 3-year-old in Texas who shot and killed his 4-year-old sister because of a weapon left unlocked. It is what happened when we dumb down the notion of gun ownership and just assume it's okay for every untrained, irresponsible person to have a gun. It is what Florida is on their way to doing. It is making the state more dangerous. Stop the nonsense that if you oppose gun violence, if you want to save lives, you're anti-gun. That's not the case. So until Florida, through those we elect, can start taking safety seriously, you have an entire tourism economy here that exists because of wonderful resources and things that are natural to this state. And Ron DeSantis is going to ruin that.
You know, Fred gets the last word on that question, right? So that's that. I saw that story, and I'm embarrassed that I didn't bring it to this conversation. A 4-year-old shot and killed his or her 3-year-old sibling. And the truth is, you are likely to know somebody impacted by gun violence in America, but you will definitely have a child raised from 3 on doing active shooter drills. And we don't know what that does to kids because we've never raised a generation of kids who start at 3. But at 3, I've described it on this program, the active shooter drill is to tell 3- and 4-year-olds to be very, very quiet and to hide, and they lower the shade on the glass door. At 5 or 6, they start to know that it's an invasion or an intrusion, and they teach them a little bit better to get in the closets. By 7, 8, 9, there's some awareness of the world outside. By 11, they know they have their phones because they've seen the texts that go out to families in Parkland or Uvalde. And by 10, 11, 12, kids know that the phone is there for all the reasons that kids like phones, but it's also what kids use who are victims of active shooter crises and tragedies at their school. And I wonder, Fred, what you think about this converse. This is not a, it won't happen to me. If you have a kid, it's already happened to you. You are raising a kid who by the time they're 7, 8, 9, 10 knows that they could get shot and killed at school.
Unfortunately, because of legislators who put politics of some sort in front of saving lives, we have to treat gun violence as if it's predictable, as if it's inevitable, as if it's foreseeable. And it doesn't need to be. But because of these people, that's where we are. So here's my advice. You know, Ron DeSantis, and my friend David mentioned it, he won by 19, 20 points. He did because he did turn out his voters. And in the state of Florida, unlike the rest of the country, Democrats did sit home. My advice, don't you ever sit home again. Show up and vote. Show up and vote like the lives of those you love matter, because this is